Well, welcome in. We've got a minute of waffling. You're probably pretty familiar with all of these competitors, right? You know everybody.
In person, no, but I seen a decent number of them play chess at this point. Yes.
Okay. That was more my question. Yeah, I've met a total of 0 people in person. So, whoa, preview. Let's go. There's some swagger to that walk. Okay. Wow. I just wanted to let that play in all of its glory.
Yeah, people have been stepping up their opening walk entrance videos for a while now. We've got some pretty good ones.
I mean, Joe's was crazy, just rolling out, ready to go. I said Shane's was better, but I'm changing my vote. Especially after he got stomped. Sorry, Shane. The pieces are set up. Nobody's going to forfeit this game or abandon it, hopefully. And this is D3, so this is going to be a step up in level you would expect between Pete and Josh. Pete being second place right now, and Josh sitting in possible relegation zone here at 8th with 10 points. So this is kind of an important game. I don't even know how many points you get a game, but he needs all of them. 3 points.
It's 3 points. Yep.
So
we are changing that to 2 next year to get more in line with real chess, which is 0.5 and 1. But we don't do decimals around here, so we're doing 1 and 2 next year.
Yeah, that's weird. 0.5 is odd.
Don't worry.
And just so you know, there's, depending on what format you're playing, like in classical games, actually, there are tournaments that run with different formats, such as like a 3 and 1 point ratio that you have set up this season. And generally speaking, in rapid games, which is we are at the very end of rapid, the games are generally scored 1 point to 0.5.
That's good to know. So am I right in saying Josh is kind of getting relegated no matter what? This is for pride at this point?
Yes.
Yeah, this is for pride. Fair play. So you know what? I'm pulling for Josh, underdog.
We got a move on the c3, which is an interesting move. It opens up the queen for a check on a4. It's not what I would consider to be pleasant in the position because it blocks your knight from development, but it does have a clear idea to it, which sometimes is all that matters. You can also go for something like b3 as white here and target that pawn on b7 because the bishop just moved out to f5, leaving it undefended.
We're going to ask Josh what he's drinking over there.
Okay.
What am I doing?
What are you drinking?
Oh,
Kitchen.
I'm drinking a fresh, filtered Schürrle Gold Pilsner right now from Three Magnets Brewery. More refreshing than a Mountain Dew from Taco Bell.
Oh my gosh.
That's a good night. You said to plug it.
And as someone who loves Mountain Dew, that is a very high recommendation right there.
High praise for sure. And then that's either vodka or water.
I am hoping that is water.
That's it's game time, baby. I don't know.
There's nothing like
that would be a lot of vodka to consume before playing chess.
nothing like a glass of vodka with a whole bunch of ice in it.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna judge. I don't know his games.
Black is clearly in the lead here because white unfortunately sacrificed a pawn on g4 for little benefit trying to kick away the bishop. So black's going to be in a tough spot. And for white here, the downside is that you have lost your ability to castle on the king side with the pawns in front of you on the G file. I might still think about castling that direction anyways by moving the bishop to G2 and then castling and then just making sure to leave the bishop there just because you have such a big lead in development. But this might be pretty tricky to play as white if black can never get his pieces developed in time.
Can you can you see a style in both of them already showing, or is it a bit too early?
It's probably a little bit too early at this point, mostly because black, for the most part, has just played a couple moves. They got a free piece out of it, and because they got that free piece, they are way behind in development because they bothered to take it and then they got kicked away. So, and black starts down a tempo as well. So white has really good development comparatively to black, but black is in the much better long-term position. The fact that white pushed that pawn out and to kick that bishop at the beginning on the G file shows me that white's probably more of an aggressive player than a defensive player, because defensive players would generally not push that G pawn. But black, I have no idea. Black just got material out of the opening, so I'm not sure how they play.
I'm interested what Josh is gonna do here. Seems like he's going for the horse maybe strategy. He's got both of them off the line, ready to go.
Yeah, and I think the best move is probably G2 and castles, but mostly because the horses that you see out, like the one on D2, like maybe you could develop that to be free.
Yeah.
To get it out of the way of black squared bishop, because right now that bishop is just a dead piece. In chess, a lot of key to taking advantage of development is freeing up pieces as fast as possible to actually generate an attack. And right now, even though white has good development, they're going to need to be precise in finding the moves to actually take advantage of it. Otherwise, they might end up in a tough spot.
Okay, just get a pawn up field. Up board, I don't know. Does anybody call it a field?
You can call it a field. I think most people just call it a board, but it's the same difference.
Upfield it is. Okay, getting the bishop off the line.
Yeah,
only going halfway. What's the strategy with that one?
So the idea is that the bishops on the diagonals, you want them on the longest diagonals you can get, because they cover the most squares that way. And on top of that, it frees up that position so that way you can castle behind it. Generally speaking, placing your bishop on G7 like that's called a fianchetto. And white's playing with the pawns here, which I think is probably the wrong way to play this position, but it will free up this knight, and that bishop is out. Sometimes when you give up a pawn like that at the beginning and you just are looking to take advantage of anything that you have, trying to drum up some form of counterattack, sometimes that's the way you have to play. I don't foresee it going particularly well for white here, but black is once again in a pretty solid position after he castles, so I think white's in a very precarious position unless black just froze material here.
Yeah, I mean, the computer definitely agrees with you. Pete's getting more and more advantage going his way. They're taking it slow, though. Definitely eating the clock, but in a thoughtful way. I know the last match, Shane says he was playing it slow, but at one point, he was just making moves, coming out left and right.
Yeah, and you have 35 minutes in these over the board versions of the game. Typically, when we play online, we have 30 minutes. But 35 minutes is a lot of time to think, and even the best players that you see up in like Division 1, including myself, really struggle to sometimes play in a good pace, and it's something that even the top level GMs will sometimes struggle with playing with good pace and taking their time on certain things for different reasons than somebody like me would. I just like to play fast, so therefore I'll make moves quickly, versus those guys, they will spend forever thinking about a gazillion variations, or they'll think they know most of the variations and they'll just play kind of instinctively for the most part and then regret it because there's one particular difference wrong.
But your quick thinking is more accurate than most people's by far, and that's probably what's carried you.
Right. That is correct. I've also just played way more games than most people, and that is why it's correct.
Right. And then, so in this position, if you're Josh, do you just move the horse?
Yeah.
Take the trade, and then be done with it?
I probably wouldn't. I would have probably moved the bishop to G2, and that's once again just to get your king out of the center of the board and try to get castled. And both the bishops are running and angling towards the king's side. The only thing about taking the horse there that would have been good is that it would defend that pawn that you might see taken here by black on D4. Black.
Don't forget to do it on the phone.
Just move on the board to the knight, so I was incorrect here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's good.
So they're threatening the queen right now.
I keep forgetting to do that.
It's all right.
The sequence, you know.
Is that the move in your mind? Because I'm imagining that queen just comes out to challenge, and then where does the horse go from there?
I think the horse will just end up going back, or you take with the bishop. I don't actually think that taking with the bishop might be a good idea. The computer seems to have still prefer black in the position, but they see something for white in it, and I'm not really seeing it because you can't move the queen to C2 here because it just gets taken by the bishop. There might be some kind of exchange you could go for by taking the light squared bishop and then checking with it with your knight again, but I think that would only be available after this move right here. So we'll see if the knight moves back to E4, but that is the only real logical square that does not lose the knight, so I think that we will promptly be seeing that.
Okay. Aggressive. Oh, the computer did not like that move.
And the reason why the computer doesn't like it, I'm pretty sure, is because you can essentially just immediately double attack that knight. You also just have this bishop that's on F5 that you can take with the knight and hit the other bishop at the same time.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I think probably taking with the knight here is the right move, and then moving the bishop on C1 to B2, hitting the knight twice, and then if you can't move the knight into a square that guards that bishop, and you end up losing that bishop. And we don't see that. Instead, we see a pawn take.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's for sure.
And it makes sense. You win a pawn. It's what you can see on the board without particularly large calculations. You just win 1 point of material. And
I mean, if you're gonna, I guess take the easy win for free. Maybe he's playing risk adverse here because he was down a pawn. I could see that happening.
Yeah, and it's just tough because like sometimes you don't see the calculations that are necessary in order to get this, but black in this position probably has some pretty nasty moves, and as far as moving this knight to take a pawn and then taking that rook on A1 afterwards if you don't move the rook.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt here, but Wyatt Toad very recently hit the elusive GC1 in Rocket League.
Oh,
I did. I got carried, but we're here.
Hey, getting GC these days is not easy. Was it in 2s or 3s?
Both. I got a
both. Look at you.
Dropped out of 3s into C3, but we got there.
Welcome to the GC club. That's all I gotta say.
It sucks. Here.
It's where you want to be.
Ugh, it's too difficult. Put me in C2 again.
I try not to fall back into champion, even though I'm rapidly losing my ability to stay in GC as the years go by.
Yeah, who would want to play in champ? Like, not me.
Get that C2 ick off me. Ugh.
I'm not on the right move.
Oh, we have some app struggles here.
Not on my phone.
I just moved from here to here,
Right.
and yours didn't sync up.
Yeah, that move did. But I've got Bishop.
We might have some technical difficulties going on. I'm trying to match the board with the phones.
Mashley's hopping in. Bless his heart. Is that a chest shirt he's wearing? That's so
I
hilarious.
don't know. Yeah.
It is.
What did this pawn do here?
Wait. Yeah, that should be a bishop on my screen. That should the bishop and the spot pawn right here are switched. I don't know how.
Okay, he just did this move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
good now.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that.
Phone's always
Wait. There's a pawn in front of the queen that shouldn't be there on mine,
that's true.
and it goes here. No, and yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That should.
And
be
this is
fine.
one of the difficulties of having a board and
it's
the
okay.
app is.
I think it's when
the
the
app
sleeve
is what
went down.
we go off of, not the board.
knocked over some
So they
pieces.
are trying to
We're
match
good
the
now.
board
No,
with
no worries.
with what's actually on the app.
So it's my move now, right?
Yeah, your
And they're
move,
making the same
everything's
move
fine.
twice,
We're good.
which I'm sure is going to get a little bit confusing.
The phone is always official in the rules, though.
I was like, what?
Does this change anything in their minds? I mean, I couldn't really see the board too well.
I see you playing games with me.
It might be harder for Josh just because like that bishop being right there on d4. If he was using the board to look is significantly more dangerous than in its previous spot potentially, especially with that pawn up. Depending on how far the board was behind it, it might be problematic. But
Yeah, I wonder if that changed things with his decision. Hopefully not. Hopefully we don't have any shenanigans like that.
We call that rule the Doug rule, by the way, just for those watching.
I'm sure there's history to that, and maybe viewers know better than I do.
In season 1, there was 2 or 3 times where Doug did a move on the board that was different than the phone. Then the question was, well, which one's official? So we had to make an official rule for it in season 2, and that is the Doug rule.
ooh,
Oh my gosh, what a move. That bar is shooting up for white.
and that is because you once again just have a challenge to this horse on b2 with the bishop here. And you also have this knight takes on f5, which opens up the king to a check on g1. And the reason why that's so bad is because at the end of it, if you say take with the knight, challenge that bishop, and then the bishop say tries to just move back to g1, you can then target that bishop immediately. And there's not anything that black can do to defend it, which is why there is such a humongous advantage for white in this position. But you have to find the right moves here in order to take advantage of it. So we'll see if that white can find knight takes f5.
We've got Nacho into the stream. Welcome. He's been chatting it up regularly here. We lost Spanky. Oh, and Rip Shark hasn't appeared here for game 2.
Nacho is a solid gold Rocket League player.
Well, gotta start somewhere.
Hey, gold is where the game is fun because that's when you can actually improve quickly.
So true. You climb up the ranks 10 more hours and then you're in platinum. So
Oh, I may have overranked him according to the chat.
Uh-oh. So he's in the I learned how to hit the ball hard stage is what I'm hearing.
Oh, wow. Big swings back and forth. So many pieces on the board that, I mean, the game really could go either way. The momentum swing is a bit maybe overstated. Wow. Okay. It's just going up and down. Wow.
And that is because this idea that has been on the board for the last couple times is still just sitting on the board. With the knight takes idea. Still available. Based on the way that it's been played so far, I don't think you're going to see that. I think it's much more likely that you're going to see like a pawn push out to f4, hitting the bishop again, or something just as simple as bishop to b2 first before taking, which just looks like it wins the knight. I think you're much more likely to see something like that than the knight takes, but it's possible. If white's not careful, though, they're going to end up potentially allowing the bishop to get to e4 with the light squared bishop, and after that, it's kind of problematic. You also just have maybe a simple move for black eventually, maybe to take that pawn on d5. But we'll see what white does. White needs to develop something, and you see the pawn push.
Okay. You can see that challenge the bishop.
Yeah, and the reason why is because, once again, there's just a move for black here that's been missed a couple of times, is this knight reveal check, or reveal, not check, but it reveals the rook to an attack if the knight moves, and you can just sack the knight and then take a rook. But instead, we see the bishop go back a square, which is a good move. It hits the knight.
Yeah.
And it also defends the bishop. And say if I play knight takes, then I can just play immediate check after I take the knight. Or if I play, if white ends up playing b2, I can just move the knight back, and then I can retake my bishop with the pawn. So a lot of the good things from white is out of the position now. Their king is open, the black king is very safe, and there's nothing that there's not really very many ways that black can go wrong right now, which is why you see the computer liking black's position.
I was going to comment on the time. We've got just a couple pieces taken, and it looks like 10 minutes off the clock for each one. Is that going to be an issue, or is this about proper time management so far?
I think this is honestly pretty proper time management. They've taken about 10 minutes to make some of these moves. I don't know exactly what the move count is that we're on right now, but based on the position of the board, I'd say like this is pretty normal time management. It's definitely not bad time management. 10 minutes is a decent chunk of time. Now, I will say that maybe taking a little bit more time in positions where you think you might be winning might have been a good strategy for either one of these players, because they've definitely had misses, but I don't think that there's anything egregious as far as time management goes so far.
Good. Okay, so this is some solid D3 play. I was gonna. Oh my gosh. That was a little treat just for us here in the booth. So does Pete have a challenge here to get into D2, or is it just the number one spot promoting in this league?
It is just the number one spot, but there's enough games left, I believe, for Pete to potentially make a comeback, depending on how Jonathan does. So there's still a chance that you could end up catching Jonathan and getting a chance.
Okay. And then, we're going to see Jonathan actually later. Jonathan and Chris. Oh, no.
And that is just mate and one on h4. Take the knight and then it's mate. Because the other knight that's sitting on C3 guards these squares on E2 and D1, and that will block all the king's potential moves.
If I'm honest, I don't even see it. So
Hey, so that's okay. Essentially, it's just the knight moves in like that L shape. So if you count like the two squares and then the one over on either side, then you'll find that knight is covering both of the squares. And then, unfortunately for white, his bishop and other knight blocks it in. So if you move this bishop on E6, taking the knight, you cover up the last square that the king can move to on F2.
right
With the check.
okay. Is he gonna see it? He hasn't spotted it yet.
And you might just see a light squared bishop move here. Oh, I think he sees it based off what was on the board, and we have checkmate.
That's it.
Oh, wow. Hot damn, dude. Good game, dude.
Is that it? Really?
Yeah, that's checkmate. You won.
I thought you could. I didn't realize. I thought.
No, you all did. Yeah.
I thought you had
Okay.
one move.
No.
But yeah, because of the night.
Yeah.
All right.
Fucking A, dude. That was great.
Goes for
I thought you
the
had one.
piece and gets checkmate for it.
Same square. All right. Yeah.
You're balling, dude.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
I didn't even see that coming.
I was sure I had. Didn't you show me?
Can you put that headset on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want it first? Yeah.
The marks of an amazing player when you just win and you don't even know it. Oh my gosh. Welcome into the booth, Pete. How do you
Hey.
feel?
I feel kind of funny because I was looking at that and looking at that. I saw the knight, saw the bishop, and for some reason I thought he's got one square. I was going to move the other bishop over to cover that for checkmate, but well, there you go. So, yeah, I feel good, and it was a good game. He played a good game.
Yeah, I mean, the whole board kind of seemed more in your favor. It was played on his side of the board more than not. And I'm assuming that's probably what you wanted out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I've learned through this whole process to try to be more aggressive. In the beginning, I was very passive, and you learn the hard way. And I learned that getting your knights up front and that sort of thing is always good. And I mean, like for example, I kind of learned that from Doug, because the knight, I forget what square it was on, but the knight that covered the king in the two squares. I mean, I probably never would have done that 3 months ago. So yeah.
So Pete, I was wondering, you said that you kind of learned that from Doug. Is that something that you have found a lot when you've been playing over this league? Is that you're kind of picking up things from other players you play, or different matches or different individual matches? You're just learning some stuff as you go along, or
Oh, yeah.
how much of that do you think has taken place over the course of this season?
Oh, a lot of stuff, man. Because I go over the games and I look for what I've missed. I look for, like I had a game the other day where I had a bishop and a queen, and I was sort of headed, we were in the middle of the end game, and I thought I made this very clever move. And it turned out after I watched it afterwards, my opponent forked my king and my bishop. I mean, neither one of us saw it, but if he'd taken my bishop, I would have been fucked. I mean, or not maybe totally, but things like that is like, I'm training myself. Look at the knights. Where do those go? People have made moves, that I didn't anticipate. I always go back and look at the games, and I look at other people's games because, I love chess, and it's super fun. It's super fun to learn all this stuff.
Well, that's fantastic. I love to hear it. I enjoy doing that myself from time to time, and I'm glad to hear you do as well.
Yeah, it's great. it's great. I love that, the games are always posted. The other thing I do is if I'm facing an opponent, I always go back and look at their previous games, see what they did, what their openings were like, what the defenses were like to those openings. Because I'm just a nerd. I love learning this stuff. It's just
I'm so sorry. Yeah, go on.
It's just still kind of funny to me to have the checkmate and not realize it. I'll have to think about how that happened, but I was probably like self-doubt or something. But yeah, it's great to be here, man. I'm really happy to be here in person, meet all you guys. It's a blast. I'll come down here all the time,
Well, thanks for showing up and participating. I had a question. You're charging up the table. I'm looking at the standings here. And going in, you're at 27 points. And Jonathan's just ahead of you, who's going to play right now, just ahead of you with 33 points. So a 6-point gap. Right now, I think after this, you're sitting at 30 points even with one game to go. Is that right? I'm assuming.
I think, yeah.
So there is a possibility of a tie at the end of the last week with Jonathan. Is it a 1v1 like death match? How do you settle that difference?
He's looking at me.
I don't know. Ashley, tell me. I don't know what to do about
I'd have to consult the tiebreaker on that one, but I think it's so what we do is we enter accuracy scores. So like on our site, instead of W's and L's, you'll see like a number under 100, and those scores accumulate as sort of like a points for, points against. And I think the first tiebreaker is like score differential.
Okay. Yeah, I don't understand how the scores work, but yeah, that's good to know. I didn't realize. I mean, I saw the standings. I thought Doug was ahead of me, but yeah, I'm happy. What can I say?
Yeah, no, as you should be. You're sitting there cleared from third, so you've got some separation going in to the final week. Do you even want to get promoted? That's my question, because I'm sure Division 2 is going to be harder. And you look really good here in Division 3.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'd love to get promoted because, learning from people who are more skilled can only be a good thing. I mean, I guess that's the short answer is, because there's all these complexities to chess, and I think you don't really learn them until you're actually really facing them, because you can read chess books and read games, between Karpov and Kasparov, and it's all interesting and everything, but it's not visceral, it's not directly connected to your perception about what's really going on the board, even if you replay those games. And I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a learning mechanism in your brain that if you're not actually committed personally to it, it doesn't really sink in. Maybe that's just for me though. So yeah, I'd be happy. I'd kick my ass. That's fine.
Yeah, you know what? Speaking of Kasparov, we've got a send off. So thank you for your time and your insight. That was really nice. Appreciate you tuning in here.
Yeah, thanks very much, man. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
What a showing from Pete. Welcome into the booth. How do we feel after a tough game?
I feel pretty jazzed, to be honest. I'm not feeling like that was a terrible game. It was surprising, but fun. Pete's a good guy.
No, you're definitely right. It was not terrible. Because we have the advantage of looking at the momentum bar as it goes up and down. And for a few moves, it was all white. A few moves, all black. It's just going back and forth like crazy. So you were right in it until the very end. And then all of a sudden, to be honest, I never saw that checkmate go. And I know Wyatt was telling me. He was trying to sit me down and school me like I'm in third grade. I never saw it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I still don't know
did not
how
see it coming whatsoever. If it wasn't apparent to the stream, I didn't see it coming at all.
That was like a Survivor blindside. That was great.
Yeah. I felt like I played pretty good defense, but I felt like playing against Pete, I'm like a blind farmer in a field full of rakes. Every time I made a move, he was just there to stop me, and I'm like, damn. Yeah. Good game, though.
It was an excellent game. You had a couple moves there where I think you could have played bishop to b2, hitting the knight in the center and winning that knight for a little while. You had another move that was, I would say, significantly harder to find. That it was pretty hard, where you like take his bishop and then you make that move. I think that was like one of the few moves that you missed in the position, and I think you gave up a pawn out of the beginning, but overall you played pretty sharp defense and gave yourself a chance to win. So I think you should probably be pretty proud of the way you played that game.
Yeah, I have been noticing I play a lot more defensively than offensively in the beginning, which leaves me a little bit hanging. But I'm getting better. That's all I can say. I'm not the best, but I'm getting better.
Hey, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
A lot of times Pete was saying that he does some review and stuff like that of games, and I was kind of curious, like, is that something that you do as well, or is that something that you think has been common throughout the league?
I never do that. Everybody else does that. I don't do that. I should do that, but I don't. Yeah, I should do more of the review of my games. I've done a couple, a suggestion from some of the players around, and it's just, I don't do it every time, but I do every once in a while.
Hey, every once in a while is enough. I am always a big fan of puzzles and stuff as well. I think those are significantly easier to do than the reviews sometimes, just because it's just something that you can do while you're sitting in line waiting for your food at a restaurant or something. You just pull out your phone out, do a quick puzzle. Those are ones that I like to do a lot more so, rather than the full game reviews, even though I do some of that as well. So if I could recommend any player that does not want to spend tons of time analyzing their games and stuff, a way to get better, it would definitely be through puzzles.
Yeah, I've done a couple of puzzles. They help out. I just didn't think it was just going to be this cutthroat. Pete's such a nice guy, and then I get dominated like that, you know? I mean, didn't know how to put this much practice in.
Hey, that's completely fair.
Yeah, it was a good performance, but it was a good performance from you too. And just looking at the standings at a glance, I know this was more of a game of pride as you're sitting there in 8th, and you're going down regardless. So do you feel like you put forward a good fight, just personally? Because I do. I was looking at the bar, like I said, up and down. You were right in it.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for me to concentrate with the board in front of me. I'm not really like a sit on my phone and play kind of guy, so it was nice to sit there and give Pete my full attention and try to give him a better game than just like randomly being at work or playing, or just like having it be an afterthought. So that was kind of nice. And even though it was a really quick game, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had fun commentating. Last thing I've got for you, how's your drink doing there?
Oh, fantastic. This nice Schürrle Gold from 3 Magnets is an easy drinking Pilsner, and fantastic.
All right, thank you. Stick around. I think this game is actually really important. We've got Jonathan's playing. So Jonathan up against Chris. This game could actually crown a D3 champion.
Not sure what's happening here.
What am I watching?
This might be a new contender for best entrance fit. That's all I'm saying.
It's a contender for something, for sure. Oh, only one intro? What? Did we lose our budget?
Must have lost our budget to too much consumption from 3 Magnets Brewing, but that is a worthy cause.
Yeah, you know what? If you're going to lose it, you might as well there. Looks like the board's set up. Everyone's ready to go. Again, I'm pretty unfamiliar with this division. I say that with the whole league in general. we've got Jonathan and Chris. Have you seen them play before? Oh, game aborted. Have you seen them play before, and do you know what their styles are like?
I have seen, I believe, both of these players play. I'm not certain how their styles have evolved because it's been a while, and as you saw from Pete in the last match and some of the other players, a lot of the players have evolved significantly over the course of the league. So I'm not 100% certain what their style is going to be. But this is very standard stuff out of white. A little bit less standard. It looks like maybe what's called the perk out of black potentially. I'm not a huge fan of, especially for people that are lower rating than 1200 or so, because it can just be a little bit hard to play just because you end up with less space. But that being said, it is a completely viable opening, and if you know what you're doing, that can get you some interesting positions.
Okay, so Jonathan's developing pawns, and Chris is going for horses. It's actually looking a bit like last game, where white horse is getting out early. Oh
Yeah,
man, okay, early check.
Quick development here. I actually not a huge fan of this check, just because I don't think it really does a whole lot. You just play the black can just play the bishop or the knight out to d7 here, and
Yep,
they're
you called
probably
it.
just fine. I think I would have preferred the bishop because it forces the bishop either back, and then you can develop the knight, so you can kind of gain a tempo, or you can take with the knight.
Oh sure, yeah.
So like in tempo and chess can matter quite a bit. But that being said, the knight is a perfectly acceptable move, and this is.
Is there anything against moving up that a7 pawn to attack instead?
You can't do that because you're under check, so you got to block the check or move. Let's get the rook move out of the way, and that's probably
Tight. Yeah, he looks suffocated in there.
and white is playing super aggressive out of this, and we'll see if it gets rewarded here. This is extremely aggressive knight move, targeting that pawn on a7. The pawn can just move up to a6, hitting back at that knight, and then the knight really doesn't have a whole lot of places to go. You can just go back down to a7, but if you do that, you might get stuck in there and end up losing your knight. So you got to be kind of careful.
Yeah, I was going to say the pace is so different. Last game was patient play, looking, trying to find the right moves. And right now they're just flying out. I don't know how many moves in we are, but we're not even in, 2 minutes from each of them yet.
Yeah, it looks like we got a7, which hits that bishop. I would be semi-concerned. You don't lose that knight no matter what happens here. I think if you're black, I would move the bishop, your white squared bishop, to b7 here to try to get the bishop trades, but that's just because I generally prefer the bishops to the knights in most positions. But either way, I think black can take this move to just develop a piece as well if they want. So I think this is there's not a bad move for black in this position other than, making just a complete blunder of a piece.
Quick shout out to Bing Bong in chat. This is like the most consistent chatter out there. He's been here since the word go. So good to see him all the way here in game 3 of the day. Oh, that's a big momentum swing. Wow.
It is. And I think it's because black has pawn pushed to b5 here. which will take that bishop off of that light square diagonal towards the king that's pinning that knight. And it'll trap that knight on the a7 square, and with a rook move to a8, you end up trapping the knight, or you can sack your bishop on b5 for the pawn, and then take it back to the knight, so you get 2 pawns for the bishop. But either way, you are going to end up down a minor piece if black can find the move pawn push to b5. And what is there any moves that jump out to you, Toad, in this position as black? What are some of these moves that potentially that could be that could jump out here as we see the knight going out to c6?
Ooh, threatening the queen. I have tons of horrible ideas if that's what you want to hear. But good ideas, those are more hard to come by. Maybe you could get that. You could push the horse out and maybe force that bishop into thinking. Not anymore. Just kidding.
Guards the bishop. You are just down a knight now. You're playing down a knight, and then you're also going to be a doubled up pawn, which generally you don't want. I think White's in some serious trouble here.
Jonathan, can you tell us what you're drinking?
I'm drinking the kombucha again.
Very nice.
The magic kombucha.
Is that sold here at Three Magnets?
It is certainly is. It's in the cooler.
Thank you, sir.
It's like $7.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the McDonald's might not be sold there. They're not sponsored by McDonald's, not yet. Coming soon.
Shane brought a whole Happy Meal here a couple streams ago.
Oh, that's awesome! Toy and everything. That is like Shane. Corporate shout out, says Nacho. Yeah, shout out to my small corporation McDonald's. Not many people know about them yet.
The logo's like faced right at the camera too.
It's great product placement. Man, okay, Jonathan's got this game in a grip right now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons for that. This knight move out, well, it does hit that bishop, and it looks like it could potentially be good if black messes up. Unfortunately, black can either just take the bishop and then play something like bishop to the g7. So, or you can just make that pawn push from before. The b5 pawn push is still there, trapping the bishop. So Peter is seeing that white is gonna go down another piece here, and that is why he's giving such a high advantage for black.
It's compact back there. He's got okay, well, he moves out now. Takes a piece, can't argue with that, but I'm just stacked in a back of 3. It's solid. And I know last game I was very lightly criticizing. I don't have the creds to heavily criticize, but it seems like you want the game to be played on the opponent's half of the board. And Jonathan's kind of, I don't know, he's violating my mind right now by kind of flipping that on its head.
Yeah, in general, that can be good practice, but you can play with closed spaces like this as long as you play sharply. And Jonathan has done that so far in this game, where he's kind of let white aggress with a couple pieces. And the problem is when you start an attack with only a few pieces, if that attack does not end up converting some into a material advantage, you're going to end up on the back foot very quickly, because your opponent's going to have significantly more pieces developed and actually in the game. And a piece that is not actually developed and in the game is oftentimes they call a dead piece. It's just a piece that's sitting behind something doing nothing. It's material that's on the board that the computer will be like, okay, the material advantage is equal, but in all reality, it is not.
Okay. Now for Jonathan, I was imagining him pushing that bishop out towards, what is that, h1. Queen kind of cuts off that attack I was thinking at.
Yeah, that bishop to h1 is not bad. I think that for Jonathan now with that queen move, I really like the pawn push on the f file to f5, hitting the queen with that bishop.
Okay.
It is a little bit unprincipled to play, though. You could also do something like, let's see here. Oh, you actually can't do that because it's pinned. Yeah, I think that's really the only like extremely good move in the position. Maybe you can move the bishop back to f5. That'd be another move that is playable, but I would not recommend playing that move. I think the pawn push is the better of the two options, but you're up material here, and that does allow you to do a trade. So, and general chess principle is when you're up material, trade.
The bishop's a bit stuck right there.
And this is a good move, only because black is up material. And because black is up material, the only way you really lose games when you're up a significant amount of material is if you leave tons of their pieces on the board left to checkmate you with. And so by giving up this bishop in the center, black has created a trade. And even though you're going to end up with doubled up pawns, which is generally not a good thing. You're still going to be up significant amounts of material. You're threatening a knight move to trade even more material on c6.
Right. Yeah, forking them.
And luckily for black, they can just take back the knight, but as more and more of the pieces come off the board, you have less and less opportunity to make any comeback as if you're white.
This would be so interesting if you had the privileges of giving us the animations that Smashley's doing here.
It's Wyatt can kind of explain the reasons, but it's difficult. We're working on it.
Yeah, it can be very tough to actually have you would need to have a board set up in a way where I would need a significantly better board view, and then we would need to have the stream from my PC, or you could have, say, like Smashley open up a separate board that's not even the live game and then replicate the moves. But it's not, it's very hard to do something that's actually live and putting some of these moves out.
Yeah, we might.
Stock.com has their way of doing it, though.
Another thing we were thinking is just putting a camera in a position where the commentators would actually do the moves, because they could see it, but even that gets kind of weird, I feel like.
Yes, the commentators could screw up a move, and that would not be good.
Yeah, I could see myself or Kern Dog doing that straight away.
In that case, though, the board would be official, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Your pieces. Yeah. Cool.
Man, Jonathan has such a grip. I know I commented
Sending them
that
to their
exact
deaths.
same thing, but he's just on it.
Yeah, this is finding all the best moves in the position over and over again. And when you do that, it puts your opponent in a position that's just impossible to play from after they've already given up, which is why whenever you put your opponent under high amounts of stress at the beginning and then you get up, it is very hard to make any comeback as pieces come off the board.
Would you advise Chris maybe developing some pawns forward and maybe holding that queen position, or just keep battling up top?
I would probably move the rook here, but in the long term, yes, I think your one advantage is that you do have if you're white, then probably the only advantage that you have in this position is that you could end up with a pawn majority on the queen side here of the board if you're white, and that pawn majority can always turn into a queen potentially depending on how you play it. So unfortunately, I think you needed to make the rook move before you did this pawn push up to C. So black is just going to win this pawn on the B file, and white will counter back and win a pawn on A6 afterwards. But and if black's not careful, they could get into a bit of trouble here, because if, say, they take on B3 and then white takes on A6, if you're not careful and make a bad move with the rook, or don't spot certain types of blocks, you could end up in a position where the rook goes to A8 and pins that queen. Definitely. Luckily for black, they have multiple moves. They can move the rook back. They can mostly is the one move they do have. If the queen ever, say, moves off of C6 back to like F3, you could potentially block with the knight as well. But yeah, you do need to be careful with some tricks here. That is the way that you lose these winning positions, that you're winning so hard and then you go from winning to losing and you wonder what in the world happened.
It's getting pretty interesting here. I was trying to think of moves for white, and yeah, I'm fresh out of good ideas.
I think if you're white here after this rook takes and you take back on the A6, you're looking to castle and hope that black forgets about that pin. I think that's probably the only move that you have to really play for in the position. And when you're over the board, another fun aspect of over the board chess is like your opponent that's winning hard can really just kind of focus on your eyes and what you're doing, and oftentimes that can leak whatever plan that your opponent may have. And black wisely chooses to not take the pawn and just castle, and I really like that move, not from the standpoint of, okay, now white can move that pawn up, and that pawn on, you're still going to lose that pawn A6. Oh, and they choose to take anyways on A6, and I think I would have moved the pawn, but that's mostly just because that idea is no longer there, because the king is now away and the rook is now facing towards the queen. So now it would just be an equal trade, and there's not a whole lot left for white in the position other than to try to push these pawns up the board to try to make a queen.
Okay, trying to force the issue on that castle.
And I just have to once again just compliment black on the level of play that we're seeing here, because that knight move is not easy to spot. It hits the rook. It also hits the pawn on the B file. It sets up lots of really nasty things where you could just take that pawn with the knight on B3 if white does not move the pawn. If they don't move the pawn, then you just take the rook. It is a very nasty move.
Man, that's tough. Yeah, I see that as it goes down all the way to the bishop and starts threatening the back line. Yeah.
For white, you do have rook A7 here, hitting the pawn on C7 with both the queen and the rook. That's probably the move I would play in this position, but it's looking very, very hopeless for white here. Black is just making all the right moves at all the right times, and playing opponents like this can be very frustrating. I remember I had a game against John in Division 1 where I had made one mistake, and because of that one mistake, it was just over. There's nothing I could do. He just kept finding all the right follow-up moves, and all of his pieces worked together, and it was just over. And sometimes chess can be like that. You make one mistake and the game is over because your opponent's just finding all the right moves over and over again. And sometimes you just gotta tip the cap to the opponent and just be like, you outplayed me. Well done.
Yeah, this is looking like it. I know Pete's sitting here at 30 points in the D3 standings. Updated from the 27. Jonathan's, I think, gonna take this one and get the crown tonight. Is this the first division champion of this season? We have confirmation, because that would be pretty neat.
I think it might be. I am not 100% aware of any of the other standings that I know Kelsey had a pretty large lead at one point in the Division 4 standings. But I don't know where that currently sits. Let me see if I can find that information real quick.
Yeah, Nacho in chat says Kelsey's already got League 4 wrapped up. So I'm going to trust Nacho's judgment and say Kelsey's already won it. Okay, getting the rook really involved. Is that worrying Jonathan's back line at all? Because that queen's kind of doing a lot of work just holding it down back there.
It could be. It could end up worrying. If you made a bad move, it could be. But the nice thing for black here is that you always have a block with that bishop as long as that black bishop is on the G7 square, that Fianchetto square we talked about in the last game. You can always just block with the bishop on F8 if you get into any real trouble there. So in general, I think black is just in a very secure position, and this is going to be very hard to play as white. You're pulling at straws at this point. You might even think about ways that stalemate might be possible at some point. A way to trade down to a way where stalemate is an plausible outcome.
Yeah, I know chat's talking about a stalemate that happened between Kelsey and Shane. I don't know the lore with that one, but I guess there's a bit of drama associated.
Yeah, sometimes you can lose a game horribly, and I've done this myself. In fact, I had it happen to me this season where I was losing horribly. I believe Jeremy from Division 2 was just utterly nuking me and found like 3 different knight forks on me in one game. And unfortunately, he took my bishop and made it to where my king couldn't move, and that was my last piece and stalemated me. And sometimes that's the way it goes. You got to be really careful not to give it up, and that is not a good move.
Flicker of hope.
Is that just loses a rook on the spot, or loses a knight on the spot, I should say, because after you take with the rook, and the knight takes, and you win the knight. So
it's a 2-for-1, right?
Yep, this is the first real hope, and sometimes your opponent just messes up, and I think that you can see that Jonathan just realized that how bad of a move it was.
Negative body
see
language.
The lean back.
I would have killed him with my king because I would have moved here.
We'll look at that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a reason I decided not to, and now I'm like, why? I could have picked up a bishop.
Yeah, this chatter across the board is very friendly. And some of the games I have played against some of my opponents is when I played with my friends that are better at chess than I am. They are stone cold killers at the board and don't say anything until the game is over. I love to see the friendly chatter.
Wait,
the end of the Davis League is about having fun and improving, and you can see the players doing that on the board. And that's pretty cool.
where's he going?
Where's he going? Yeah, this chatter across the board is very friendly. And some of the games I have played against some of my opponents is when I played with my friends that are better at chess than I am. They are stone cold killers at the board and don't say anything until the game is over. I love to see the friendly chatter.
Where's he going? Is he thinking about moving his rook out of there?
I am not certain. I would hope not,
Yeah, that's what I
but
was
it sure does look like it.
Oh, okay. He's settled on. Is that
E3,
A3?
it looks like.
Oh man. Okay. Missed chance. That could have been really, really crucial.
Yeah, a 2-point free is still a winning advantage, but it is not nearly as winning as the as 5.46 advantage that we've seen the computer give black for most of this game, and that is going to be a move when you go back and do the review that you end up regretting, because you can just cleanly see that it's winning on the spot, or I should say winning. It's winning material on the spot.
Yeah, that's a big, big let off. Oh, Jonathan's pressing that queen.
Yeah, that queen's going to have to move back into probably. I would move it to F, the F file on F3, I think.
Yeah.
Just to get it far away from that knight.
Yeah, wow. They've got to back that thing out diagonal right.
And now as black, you're looking at the position and it's like, okay, how can I trade down some more? And I think like there's two very common moves that you have seen black go for these trades, and I think you're going to see black play B3 here with the rook, trying to challenge that rook on A3. Or you may see something like queen to B8, and with the idea of shoving your rook eventually down to challenge the bishop on C3.
I think this has been my favorite game of the three being played. There's a lot of strategy going into this one. This is good.
Yeah, and you see, this is also a very excellent move. So as I said earlier, one of the only ways you can lose is if that queen ends up pinned against the king, and now that becomes really hard to do because that queen no longer is looking back into A8. You remove the long diagonal from the queen, and make it to where that the queen and rook can no longer team up there.
How many of these chess aficionados are Sounders fans? Like, what's the percentage here?
From what I know, a decent number of them are, but I think that it would be a great question for a producer.
Yeah.
Who's
Where
not
is he?
at his station at the moment. So,
Kelsey? Hello?
I'm not 100% certain about that. I am personally not a Sounders fan because I'm not a soccer fan, and that is a clean loss of a bishop.
Yeah, the big sit back, take a sip. What did I do?
What was the question?
Oh yeah. So how many of these chess players are also Sounders fans?
I'm gonna guess half. So maybe like 16, 17.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good numbers. Is there chess watch parties for the Sounders here?
This is actually where we meet to watch Sounders.
Perfect. Three magnets getting everybody.
And this has gone disastrous for black. As you saw, they gave up a bishop, and then they need to give up that rook. Because now white has just a simple rook to B1 to win the knight, potentially. Or even just a potentially you might even just be able to get your queen to a good diagonal spot too, to try to go for a mate on G7 with your queen, like something similar to queen to G, queen G3, or even maybe have like a pawn to C4, making a reveal attack, even though I think that would give up to a fork, but it's not a fork because the bishop can go back and stare at D2. Wow. This position is just so good for white. That knight is just dead. There's nothing that you can do to save it.
Do you think he capitalizes?
It is very hard to spot because the only reason why it's dead is because of that backwards bishop move, which I did not see right away. So I think white has a chance to capitalize on this.
Okay.
And you do see it played. The question is will you see the backwards bishop move if the black knight ends up playing to D2? And you got to be careful because you can also end up in a position where you could potentially get in deep trouble with back rank mate here as white. So this is a very, while this is winning for white, this could just as well be quickly losing for white in one move as well. So yeah, this is a very tough position to play.
I think, is the official name Squeaky Bum Time?
I am not certain. I can't say I've ever heard of that one, but we can go with that. I mean,
It's just like if you go to Game 7 on Rocket League, it's Squeaky Bum Time.
Yeah.
Also, or Hold On to Your Butts is another one.
I think that's the Americanized version. Yeah. So we're forcing the issue with horse, taking another piece off the board.
I think you need to play probably queen back here. I'm not entirely certain though. This is a very wild position. You can play if you take the horse here with the pawn, you actually get checkmated. So you're gonna have to be careful.
I'm sure everybody sees how that's possible, but just for our viewers who don't see it, how would that work?
So if you say were to take the horse, you would have this rook on b6 take the rook on b2, or I mean on b1, which comes with check. And then the only two legal moves that you have afterwards are bishop to block on c1 and then queen to block on d1, and then you would be mated.
He's doing exactly that. Okay, so he's forced the issue. Rook's down there. Right, okay. Yeah, I could see how this is a not very favorable position.
Yeah, and this is a sad position to be in because you just felt like you had something in the position and then you immediately blundered it, and that is
This is it, right?
never what you want.
Yeah, he did.
You're going to see the full line.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Oh, good game.
Nice.
Damn.
Well done, man. That was
like, wow.
That was intense. They're always intense.
Okay, so this bishop. Oh my god, that was a
Yeah.
total blunder.
Yeah.
I was looking at this crazy fork.
Yeah, you were dangerous with that that night.
Yeah.
Way dangerous, man.
Crazy position.
Both of them, actually.
Yeah, and I would be curious to go back and review that game for the computer because there was something in that position that I'm not even for sure I had a full grasp of that position at all. I do not blame white one bit for not being able to detect what that was, because I'm not for certain that I found the computer line that it wanted. So it was an excellent game between both players.
It really was. I think Jonathan came out with a game plan that was executed excellently. And then a couple mistakes, couple blunders, you could even say. Can you say, is there an official term? That could be an official term.
Blunders is the official term. You can absolutely say that.
Couple blunders sending Chris some Hail Marys, but wasn't enough. I'm curious to hear what their comments are going to be if they want to hop on the mic.
Yeah, well thought game.
Chris has
What we'd like to see.
Chris has to run, so we are going to interview just Jonathan.
Okay. Well, shout out to Chris for playing. Probably not going to get to chat with him, but that was a hard fought game. Really good to see. So.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Hey.
Welcome. Can you hear us? All right.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You know what? I didn't know what to expect from your intro.
Wait, the walk-in video?
The walk-in video. I was thinking, who is this kid? And then, holy cow, it was immense pressure. It was like an anime aura. It was suffocating.
I haven't seen it yet. I mean, I acted it, but I haven't seen the clip yet.
Yeah. So, were there any errors in your mind that were maybe unforced?
In the game, yeah, that last bishop move. I was talking to Chris about that. I had seen a really cool fork with my knight where I could fork the queen and the rook, and I just was playing too fast, and I thought, okay, if I can get his bishop out of there, I can fork him, but I failed to recognize that the bishop would maintain the diagonal and take out the knight, so that was a blunder, and I'm glad I was able to come out with a win tonight, because that was bad.
And with this win, officially, by the power vested in me, you are D3 champion as of right now. So congratulations.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's great. I think we're getting down to the end.
Jonathan, can you explain your entrance video that's playing on stream right now?
Can I explain it? I can't see it, but I found a horse head on Amazon and a cool cape, and I thought it'd be fun to ride in as one of my knights.
That is a W move. The Knights are known for wonderful forks. They did almost cost you the game on this one, which
yeah,
a little bit overzealous knight play. But that being said, I think you played an excellent game from the beginning, and you had a huge advantage. There was one actual other move where you moved your rook back, which would have lost you a knight, the knight at one point, and then that bishop move. And how have you played a lot over the board, and how different do you think playing over the board is, just from the standpoint of it's really hard to hide blunders and things like that when you realize that you've messed up? And what do you think about playing over the board and how that affects things versus playing online?
It's a different perspective. The game just looks different. So I prefer playing over the board. I think I like the visual, but playing on the phone it's easier to find some things. I appreciated Chris as my opponent tonight. I haven't played him in person, and he really played the board, and so I felt really locked into what was going on over the board tonight. That was pretty cool. But it can be a little hard. I can kind of lose my pieces playing in person over the board compared to the phone, so they're just different.
A very understandable take. Are you nervous at all about jumping up divisions here, playing that promotion relegation match? And are you gonna do any prep work for it? You scheming a new opening, or what are you thinking on that?
I think I got a math. I think you are confirmed for that, and I think it's not It's going to be between Katie and Tyrone on who you play
Oh wow! To
So,
get
yeah.
into League 2 or the second division.
to get into the League 2 playoff
Okay.
bracket.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I forgot what your question was. Oh, was I gonna prep? Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
it's-
I am
you
feeling
know,
nervous
anything
because the players in League 2 are pretty good, and I think I'll not be able to get away with some mistakes. So I will have to up my game.
Well, that is very fair. Toad, do you have any more questions for our winner here of Division?
No, I'm
3?
good on questions. You know, I don't even know if we usually do this, but I want to give an opportunity. If you want to give a quick shout out, if you win the league, I mean, come on, you got to get an opportunity to shout out some loved ones.
Shout out some loved ones. Let's see. I think Whale Bomb might be watching. He's my buddy from Vancouver, and maybe Frisker. What's up, Frisker? And whoever else is watching. I'm just glad this is going on. You guys host a great thing, so I'm really happy to find it. I moved here from Vancouver, and I just wanted to find a chess community, so I can't believe I found this on Reddit.
Wyatt's in Brush Prairie.
Ah, yes. And Felipe, shout out to Felipe. He's down in Vancouver, I think. I play him a lot on,
Hazeldale.
on the dailies. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much for giving us a good treat of a game. Appreciate you stepping into the booth and a good interview too. So I'm going to send you out of here, and I'm going to send the whole stream out of here too. Thank you everybody for
Thank
tuning
you.
in.
Bye, guys.
Great stream. Congratulations for a hard-fought league win already with another week to go. Shout out to Wyatt on the booth, Sean on the booth, myself. We've got producers Ashley and Kelsey, and a big special shout out to 3 Magnets for hosting the whole thing. We're going to get out of here. Thank you. Good night.